1, 2, 3. And we are live. So welcome to the Ask Self Belief Chief podcast. This is episode 51. People are streaming in from Instagram Live. You just send in your questions in the comments box below. So we'll wait for people to send in their questions. I want to talk a little bit about giving up. Some of you be thinking, well, self-belief, what are you talking about? You know, you talk about self-belief, why are you talking about giving up? Yeah, I need to talk about giving up a little bit. Because I had an interesting question the other day from someone. Hello to the first few people who are joining. So hello, we've got Rodney who's just joined. If you've got questions for me, just send it in the comments box below. But we'll wait for more and more people to join in. And I want to talk a little bit about giving up. And I'll start the story now, which is that I had someone coming up to me and they said, I really enjoyed your talk, really enjoyed what you were saying, what you're doing. I'm really pumped about doing this thing and I'm really excited about doing it. And I was like, yeah, great. And, suggested a few things. They're like, awesome, yeah, I'm going to do it. I chased up with them maybe, I don't know, a few weeks later. Chased up with them on LinkedIn and said, are you still doing it? Is things still going well for you? Are you right? They said, yeah, I'm not doing it actually. I decided, I haven't got the time, I haven't got the resources. I don't think this can happen for me. It's just, I'm not really sure, it's possible for me. And they just hadn't done anything. Well, for me, that was ridiculous, but also a bit of a, I realised that I clearly hadn't said the right things because they hadn't committed to doing it. They hadn't committed to actually following through with it. So I hadn't actually made a long-lasting impression on this person. But I was about to. So before I carry on the story, so hello to the people who are joining in. If you've got any questions for me, you leave it in the comments box as per usual. I'll collate some of the questions, and when I finish my little ramble at the beginning, then we'll start taking some of the questions. So I spoke to this guy again, and I said, well, what happened? What made you stop? And I just said, yeah, as I said, time, resources, all of that. I said to them, no, but, do you not think this can happen for you? And they said they asked a question which I'd never heard, had never thought of, but for whatever reason I had an instantaneous answer for. So he said, when should I give up? At first I was thinking, well, that's a ridiculous question. But then I quickly thought, well, actually, it's not a ridiculous question because actually, when do we know if we're going in the right direction? Maybe sometimes we need to stop and change direction. Or maybe it's just not your talent, it's not your gift, and, you've got to go and follow up with something else. All sort of various possibilities of that absolutely made sense. So what I said was, you can give up when you feel like you can't breathe because you're out of breath, because you've pushed yourself so hard, physically, mentally, and whatever. You feel like you can't breathe. When you can't sleep because you're thinking about it so much, bring all your time, your energy, your resources into it, and you're giving up sleep. When you forget to eat, just meals, all of a sudden, time flies by and you haven't eaten anything for however long. When you're bleeding under your fingernails, just trying to hold on. I said, when you reach that level, give it one more go. When you reach that level, give it one more go. And you give it one more go at that level, when you've given up food, sleep, can't feel like I can't breathe, whatever, because it changes the mindset, it changes your perspective in terms of what is possible, what you're capable of, what the challenges are, what the difficulties are, and how you can actually tackle all these things. It's not until you reach that point that things begin to change for you. I put myself in positions where, I'm lucky that I'm able to work for a long time doing what I love to do, but it's about when you get to that point where you don't want to do anymore, what's the decision you make then? What I'm able to do is channel myself to think of what the really compelling reason I got involved in the first place. So, that's the spiel. And as I said, we're talking a little bit about giving up. And I don't want people to give up, and I don't want people to struggle. So hopefully that story made some sense to you. And, as I said, I'll be taking questions on Instagram Live. I want to know for people who have thought about giving up. If you've ever thought about giving up, hello. Just wave to a few of you. Hello. For anyone who's felt like giving up, what is it that you're trying to do? I'm here and happy to help you tackle those particular issues, but you have to balance up. I know it feels like pain to carry on, but it's got to be more pain to give up. If you can stack the pain in the direction of giving up so that it just feels so incredibly painful, the idea of no longer doing what you once believed you were destined to do, then, hey, it might keep you doing it. And if you stack it in such a positive way as what the benefits are for you to keep on keeping on and actually staying positive with it, and actually the difference you can make in people's lives, then hopefully that's enough of an incentive for you to carry on. So hello to all of you who've just joined. If you have questions, leave it in the comments box below on Instagram Live. You're streaming in live right now. So hello to all of you. Hello. I'm going to take some of the first few questions. So the first question I had was, I need to focus on my studies, but I get very easily distracted. How do I keep myself going? Okay. So with regards to that question, think of what the end result will be if you have done well. The hardest I ever worked was for my A-level exams, or would be your upper secondary school exams. One of the hardest I've ever worked, where I just had this vision of what it meant if I succeeded. And I just pushed myself beyond limits that I thought I was even capable of. And you push yourself and you take yourself to that place. If you can think of the end result and create a compelling enough vision of what success looks like, that keeps you from giving up. It stops you from getting distracted. So hopefully with your studies, if it's the example here, just think of what will happen if you've got the results at the end of it. You put everything into it. You really, really pushed yourself to do it. What would that mean? What would that do? So I hope that's a bit of insight to you. So hello to Sarah, to Chrissy who's just joined, Nida's just joined. So hello. If you've got any questions, leave it in this comments box down here. I'll continue to answer them for you. This is episode 51 of the Ask Self-Belief Chief podcast. So next question is, let's just scroll through, see what we got. Let's make sure it's the first question, one of the first questions I got asked. Okay. Yeah, so next question. So I feel anxious a lot of the time. What should I do when I feel anxious? It makes me want to stop doing what I do. Okay, so anxiety is a physical thing. It's difficult to sort out as a mental thing. So if you're feeling anxious or have anxiety, control your breathing, slow down your breathing. Breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, breathe out for 8 seconds. Okay, you just got to change your breathing. Just change your physical being. How do you move your body when you're in control, when you're calm, when you're confident? And it's really important for anyone else who's thinking, I don't need to sort of tackle these nerves. It's not necessarily the anxiety or nerves in one moment, but if you allow yourself and get taken and swept over by the anxiety, and there's nothing wrong with anxiety as such, but if you get taken over by the anxiety, and then another moment happens, you get taken over it by again and again and again and again, it will wear you down, it will knock you down, and for many people, it will keep them down. And that's when people start giving up. And what a shame it would be with the talents and gifts you have been given in this world to give up. And for many people, they leave this world with their gifts and talents still buried inside them and buried in the ground with them. Why don't you, and then even worse, some people, they die in their 20s or 30s, not because they stopped breathing, but because they stopped living. God, that was so good. That almost sounded really insightful, didn't it? Let me try and say that one more time. People die in their early 20s and 30s, not because they stopped breathing, but because they stopped living. Oh, that sounded... Getting chills all over. Joking. In all seriousness, I think it's true. I think people just give up on what they want. They deal with a smaller life where there isn't so much pain because of the things they've been through. If you've been through something, you could share that with so many people who are struggling with that thing or have been through the same thing, and you can be a cause for optimism. I created the Self-Belief Chief brand because I struggled with self-belief and I needed other people to not struggle with it. And for people to say, just believe in yourself, then by all means, it's not enough. I've actually had a request to be in my live video. I don't even know how this works, but this is a first. Let's try that. Okay, view. Okay, so we got Mimi. So hello. Let's see if I can connect you in. Don't know if this actually works. Does it work? Joined. Is that it? Can do. Something's happening. I don't know what's happening. Something's happening. Everyone else, stay tuned. On the people listening on the podcast probably thinking, "What on earth is going on?" We're having a technical thing right now, and I don't think it works. Anyway, someone tried to join in live. By all means, I'm happy to take in your questions if you want to video yourself in or live stream yourself in. Who else has joined? The Grubblers just joined. Twinkie's just joined. Oh, sorry, Twinkle Little Star has just joined. Great usernames, guys and girls. So yes, any more questions, you leave it in the comments box down here. But everyone has a challenge every day to try and keep themselves motivated and keep themselves going. I know it's difficult. I know it's challenging. Okay. But you can push yourself through to do some unbelievable things if you just resist the temptation to give up. And you can resist the temptation by remembering why you started in the first place. And that why is usually this grand vision you had for the world and what you could become and what you could do for other people. So whenever you do feel a bit lost or struggling a little bit, then just remember that particular vision. It's beautiful. It can happen for you. That vision can hold you up. You just got to remember it, and you just got to use it in a way that can do good for people. Okay, so I think we're approaching towards the end of the podcast. I want to thank you all for your questions streaming Instagram Live. For people listening on a repeat of the podcast, if you want to stream on Instagram Live, UK time around 6-7 p.m. most days, I'll give you a heads up when I'm streaming. Otherwise, you can send in questions ahead of the show if you'd rather, or you can join me on the podcast itself. I'll be uploading this video maybe today or tomorrow, so if you want to listen on repeat, you can do so. Or you can go to, if you type in selfbeliefchief.com/athlete podcast. It's not what it's called, but its username is Athlete Podcast. Then you can join in there. This is episode 51, so if this is the first episode you've heard, you got another 50 episodes, so you are lucky. But by all means, you've got questions, please join me again in the future. Enjoyed having you. The first 50 episodes were great, and looking for ways to constantly improve the podcast. I know it's difficult. I know it's challenging sometimes to do what we really, really want to do. But if you ever feel like giving up, just remember why you got started and what is that compelling future. And remember, don't die in early age, not because you stop breathing, but because you stop living. That's just a total waste of your gifts and talents and abilities. I don't want them to be buried in the ground with you one day when you pass away. So do something with your life now. Whatever your gift or talent is, believe you can do. And just to remind you, your biggest fan, you've got one right here. My name is David Holman. If you change today, today will change your life. So enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your life wherever you are. And I'll see you on episode 52 of the podcast. Cheers.